What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're all having a great day. Continuing our barrage of JZX100 Mark II content. In the last video, we got the cleaning portion of the build near completed. In the last video, I did a 2-stage paint correction and ceramic coat on every square inch of the Mark II, and it came out amazing. First video, we ripped out the interior and got it as clean as I possibly could without steam cleaning the carpets and seats. Interior is very minty. I'm very grateful for that. Also, I picked up a full set of new tires since the last ones were just clapped out. I went with the Kumho's Esta PS31. Just did the specs that were already on the wheels, which were 225/45 and 235/45. If I could do it again, honestly, I would have went to a 40 instead of a 45 sidewall just to get a little bit more low. I also did a subpar job at cleaning the dirt off the wheels here. They're okay. Honestly, don't plan on buying wheels for the Mark II soon just yet. I want to get different coilovers that go lower, and I do want to test fit the VSKFs that I have on the Skyline. In this video, we'll be heavily focusing on engine bay cleanup and engine maintenance. For the engine itself, we will be swapping out the rocker cover gaskets with some new OEM ones, a OEM ventilation tube, swapping out the spark plugs, getting the head clean of any oil residue. Off camera earlier, I went ahead and pulled out the intake pipe, cleaned the MAP sensor with MAP cleaner, and deep cleaned the Blitz power system. Also want to find, fix, and clean up any oil leakage in the bay. There is a hose that's underneath the water pump there that's leaking oil. It's not clamped down, so I'm assuming that's where a majority of the oil is leaking in the bay. As you can see here, it's just getting on everything, and it's underneath this pipe here. Also going to be changing the oil, removing the oil pan and the splash guard, getting that nice and clean. Today we'll be using Liquid Moly 5W40, works right in my Skyline. We'll be doing a Liquid Moly engine flush. I can't wait for this to get all those old residue, any buildup in the motor. And then for a filter, I'm using a Forerunner Tacoma filter. I've been reading that this has like a better capacity and a better flow. There's the part number there. In the next 2 weeks, my Greddy silicone radiator hose system will be coming in. Comes with the upper and lower hoses. I also ordered a SARD low temp thermostat. So once we get those in, we can pull the radiator out, clean the fan, flush out the system with some full synthetic AMS oil coolant. I will be swapping out the bulbs and the headlamps. And then also again, within the next couple of weeks, I should be receiving my Project Mu full brake system overhaul. We got slotted rotors, new pads, and steel braided brake lines. And then we will be doing a brake fluid flush, of course, with Motul RBF 600. Then all we need is a nice alignment, and the Mark II will be ready for the road. First, let's go ahead and swap out the HIDs and the headlamps. First step, take out the side marker. Second step, remove the screws on the side and on top here. Third step, remove the assembly and pop out the weather cover there. Take the old bulb out and slide the new bulb in. There's your orange bolt there, and it's going to be a Torx 25. Here's the secondary weather cover protector for the HID bulb. Go ahead and use a flathead screwdriver and pry up the first clip first, then the bottom will come out accordingly. Undo the prongs, unlock the socket here, and here is your HID bulb. Size is going to be D2S or D2R. I went with the 6K because it's a nice crystal white and I like blinding incoming traffic. Now if I did everything correct, hopefully they turn on. So while I wait for UPS to drop off my spark plugs and OEM gasket kit, we're going to go ahead and proceed with our liquid moly engine flush treatment. So what you want to do first is let the vehicle warm up idle for a good 5 to 10 minutes, turn it off, pour the engine flush treatment into the motor, start it again, let it sit idle for a good 10 minutes, turn it off, and then proceed with your oil change. I don't think I've ever showed you guys like it running, actually. Starts up right away. Like honestly, this sounds like a very, very healthy 1JZ GTE VVTi. No weird noises, no weird tingings. It's honestly mechanically sound, just leaking a little bit of oil. But once the Mark II is nice and warmed up, I'll go ahead and show you guys the turbo flutter noise. Okay, so the Mark II has been warming up for a good 11 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys some rev bombs real quick, let it idle for another 5 minutes, and then we'll proceed with our oil change. Mark II on jack stands. I really need to invest in a lift or some quick jacks. So going underneath, got bolt there, bolt there. I want to say these are all 10s. You can tell like how much is leaking right here. Definitely got to wear gloves for this one. And there's our oil pan here. This is all a learning curve to me, guys, so bear with me. Sweet. And I'm assuming the filter's got to be somewhere up near the intake manifold. All right, so I just removed the front under tray, and honestly, not that bad. We do have some goods and we do have some bads, but we'll start out with the goods. Good number one, we do have an aftermarket dump pipe, so that's cool. I think it's just after the turbo elbow to the cat. As you can see right there, it is oversized. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that looks a whole lot bigger than stock. This tri-bar down here is aftermarket. It is a TRD, so stoked on that. Good number three, there is not a speck of rust under here, so super happy about that. But now moving on to, I guess, the bads in terms of the oil leaks. The pan is definitely leaking, just needs to be resealed. The secondary pan up here, I believe, is leaking, so that needs to be pulled out and resealed as well. I'm hoping that the front main seal isn't leaking, but that looks like a simple job even I can do. But as you can see up there, I think the Mark II has just been leaking for quite some time, and it's just gotten on everything. So I don't think it's leaking from like every crevice of the motor, but it's just been leaking for such a long time and getting on the fan, and the fan's just spewing shit everywhere, like even up there. So definitely going to remove all the piping and just everything I can as of right now, and degrease, deep clean. We'll remove the oil pan as well, get that nice and resealed. Inspecting all the hoses, everything is pretty good. No coolant leaks, just oil, so really happy about that. So I'm just gonna go ahead and degrease, wipe down everything first, and then we'll start removing bits and pieces, except for the upper radiator tube, because I don't want to mess with the coolant today in this video. But yeah, so far, so good. So Mr. UPS dropped off my OEM rocker cover gaskets, the ventilation hose for the rocker covers, and my NGK Iridium spark plugs. This is what I went with, BK-R8EIX. A big shout out to Night Run Garage for the speedy shipping. In terms of cleaning, I use this degreaser I got from my brother, and then I had a bunch of brake clean laying around, so I utilized that. If you remember, this pipe was just caked on with oil on the back. It is pretty clean now. I used a fine cutting or fine sanding pad to get all that gunk off. In terms of the engine bay, I got a lot of the debris and oil buildup removed off the alternator. Again, once we get the radiator hoses in, I'll take out the fan and radiator and we'll do all that nice deep cleaning. A huge transformation underneath the motor. Got the front subframe very clean, oil pan, very clean, sway bar clean, this other pan or underneath the block clean. I sprayed all of the pulleys and hit it with a microfiber towel, got a lot of the gunk off. The belt, honestly, I'm probably just gonna go ahead and replace. I know it was replaced recently, probably last year, but not a bad idea to change everything else out. Alternator, nice and clean to the best of my abilities. Honestly, need to just soak the whole motor or block in degreaser and power wash it. And I don't think the rear main is leaking. I'll know once I put oil in it and start the car up, but honestly, very clean from what it once was. Just installed the brand new oil filter, and man, taking the old one off was such a pain in my ass. It literally took me 43 minutes just because it was old. It was tight on the cooler, and where it is, it's in between a hard line and a motor mount, and it just sucked. Like, it almost ruined my day trying to get this thing out of here. It took so long, but we got it out, new one's on, fits snug. At this time, I'm gonna go ahead and pop off the spark plug cover and take out the rocker covers. We'll go ahead and install our ventilation hose and the new gaskets. Cool, so we got the garnish and the top plate off. Already doing some inspections. They're all gonna be 10mm bolts on the rocker covers. They are leaking from the gasket, not surprised. I went ahead and removed one plug and one coil. Plugs and coils look good. Spark plug on the other hand, they look relatively new. Honestly, not in bad shape, a little burnt. God knows how old these are, but they are iridium, Denso, iridium tough. All right, made a lot more progress since the last clip. We got the rocker covers off. Everything is looking a-okay. Spark plug wires are out, coil packs are out, except for this guy here. The top clip is broken, so they like siliconed it shut there. So until I do my smart coil conversion, I'm gonna leave it alone. A lot of leaks from the rocker cover gaskets because most of these bolts here were very loose, so oil was just like seeping out everywhere and in here. I'm gonna leave the spark plugs in and just very carefully with some brake clean and a microfiber towel, clean it to the best of my abilities. Maybe use like a drill brush just to get this thing shining once more. But everything looks good, nothing abnormal, no broken cams, thank God. Here are the rocker covers. Again, leaking a lot from the loose bolts, nothing too concerning. Underside, not too bad. And this one here is like, was the loosest, as you can see. And bottom side, not too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and scuff these really good, clean them with some brake clean, microfiber towel, all that fun stuff. And maybe paint them black, or probably honestly just leave them alone. And then the gaskets here are just hard as a rock and dried out and brittle. Cleaning update. Look how nice these rocker covers came out. They are pristine, almost. I just used a ton of degreaser, scuffing pads, a variety of steel and coarse bristle brushes to get into like those tight spots there. Looks really good. Now I'm gonna go ahead and clean the spark plug galleries, get that as clean as I possibly can, and start reassembling the head. All right, just got done assembling pretty much everything besides the garnish. I cleaned the spark plug galleries to the best of my abilities. Got the wires nice and clean, coil packs nice and clean. Cleaned the rocker covers again to the best of my abilities. New gaskets, tightened all of the bolts down to spec and in sequence. We got the new ventilation hose. It's feeling good. The other one was just like super brittle and just broken. That's why it was leaking. Again, got all the bolts and grommets torqued down to spec, so hopefully the rocker cover doesn't leak and all the hoses reconnected. Now I'm just gonna go ahead again and clean the garnish. Tomorrow morning, go ahead and fill the Mark II with oil and check for more leaks. Mark II filled with oil. Let's get that first initial startup. Again, hopefully I did everything correctly. Okay, 1JZ has been idling for a good 3 minutes. No weird noises. The 1JZ is idling and running significantly smoother as to be expected. It's always nerve-wracking when you do something even as minor as like a spark plug and oil change on these older vehicles because they're so accustomed to the old material, but glad that everything is working out so far so good. So I'm just gonna let the 1J idle for a good 10-15 minutes. I know it's going to leak oil, but hopefully not from the front main. If anything, I'll just go ahead and order the new front main seal and definitely reseal the oil pan if it's leaking terribly. 15 minutes later and the Mark II is extremely happy, idling significantly smoother, no breakups at wide open throttle. Coolant for some reason is more responsive, like the thermostat, not overheating, which is good. Nothing is leaking, which is awesome. And in terms of emissions, the smell is near completely gone. It's not as potent as it used to be, so I'm incredibly grateful we got that all knocked out. So next on our to-do list when the parts come in is coolant. We'll remove the radiator, like I mentioned, deep clean this fan, deep clean the radiator, put in the new Greddy upper and lower silicone hoses and the SARD low temp thermostat. And we'll go ahead and give this thing a nice flush of synthetic coolant. And I also don't smell like burning oil anymore, which is awesome. But before we close up the video, we got some goodies. First off, just want to give a huge shout out to TF Works for having these front Project Mu rows in stock. The ones I ordered from RT Japan were on back order until December, but luckily TF Works had 3 of these in stock, so all you JZX100 Tour V boys that need front rotors that don't want to go IS300, there are 2 more front sets. I'm super stoked. My set from RT Japan should be here within the next 2 weeks. Nice Tiffany or turquoise blue. Just went with some slotted. They don't need to be drilled and slotted. That's just less surface area for the pad to grab, but these are very nice and I can't wait to install these. So that is all we have in today's video. I think we did a good job with the engine maintenance / tune-up on the Mark II. Really breaks my heart seeing the condition the Mark II was in, but I promise you within the next year or so, the Mark II is going to be looking and feeling, well, modified just like my Skyline. I cannot wait. But the Skyline takes top priority after we get all the maintenance and registration taken care of on the Mark II. But thank you everybody so much for the continuous love and support. And if you're new to the channel too, want to hit the subscribe button, that'd be awesome. And remember, aim high, drive low. We'll catch next video. Take care.